Erika Kirk defended her husband's work during this weekend's exclusive town hall with CBS News editor-in-chief Bari Weiss. The discussion was frank, it was honest, and at times emotional. When she was asked about Charlie Kirk's controversial comments, Erika Kirk said he tried to let people express different opinions and in no way encourage people to act violently. Listen.
My husband never incited violence. He never once said, go after them because they're saying X, Y, Z and they deserve to die. My husband never once said that, and he never would. What did he say? Come to the front of the line. I'll put my mic down. Tell me why you believe that. Well, that's interesting. I never thought of that. But have you thought of this? People heckling, laughing at them. Stop. It took a lot of courage for them to come up here. Stop doing that. He gave them a microphone. He didn't take away a moment for them to speak back. He gave them a microphone. And what'd they do? They gave him a bullet in the neck. Totally different.
All right, let's bring in CBS News Chief Washington Analyst Robert Costa. So Bob, talk about the insight that we gleaned from this town hall into Charlie Kirk and how Turning Point is expected to move forward in the future.
It's good to be with you in this town hall hosted by CBS News and the editor-in-chief Bari Weiss. It was not so much about what it revealed about Charlie Kirk, though we learned a lot about how his widow perceives him and his legacy. We really learned a lot about Erika Kirk and her own plans for the future, how she wants to carry on Charlie Kirk's mission. It's a complicated job. Running an organization like Turning Point USA, which she now does, demands a lot of time, and it demands a certain kind of presence on so many of these college campuses nationwide, where Charlie Kirk really did what his wife said, Erika Kirk said, which is to try to engage with people of different views.
So we've seen a lot of political violence in recent months, Bob, as you know, and you've covered it. I want to play what she said about who's to blame.
You can choose to have evil in your heart, or you can choose to have light. What you consume and what you absorb from the outside world will manifest itself. No, I will never agree with political violence.
Do you think our political leaders have a responsibility to turn the temperature down right now?
Well, I think everyone has a responsibility to do that, and I'm doing my part. I'm not in control of other people.
What's your reaction to that, Bob?
Vlad, in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, I really, as a reporter, tried to reckon with political violence in this country. And for CBS Sunday Morning, we went down to Nashville, Tennessee, to talk to the historian John Meacham about the history of violence in this country and how violence is so antithetical to what the country's founding values are all about. And so Bari Weiss's question is, and the question from the audience is about, what's the future here? How are political leaders of all parties supposed to engage with this question of political violence? And it's very evident when you look at the historical record as a journalist that American leaders, global leaders, but let's focus on the U.S., have, since the founding, had to deal with how do you handle free speech and the specter of violence when speech gets heated and discussions get very inflamed. And it's not in the American tradition to, as Erika Kirk said, try to assassinate someone, as they did with Charlie Kirk and were successful, unfortunately, or in any way just become violent or angry. Anger is fine, but when it leads to physical violence or gun violence, it veers off course into something that's dark. And what we're seeing right now is we're at another crossroads. Whether it's a mass shooting or a political assassination, so many elected leaders are trying to figure out, how do you not just, so as we use that phrase, bring the temperature down, how do you try to create a construct for debate in this country where violence isn't seen as an option on the table?
Yeah, it's such an interesting point that you make, Bob, because you and I have covered the recent wakes of violence in this country. And oftentimes our political leaders will say, well, no, I'm not stoking violence. But in a way, the language that is often used, you don't know who's absorbing that language. So when you try to diminish by using language that suggests that someone who disagrees with you is perhaps less than, or not American, or less than a full person. You don't know how language like that, or when the press is attacked and told that they are members, that they are enemies of the people, you don't know how people who may already have violent tendencies will absorb that kind of language. So it strikes me that it's not just about condemning violence, which they always do. It's sort of the language around the issues that seek to diminish or dehumanize the other side.
I think, Vlad, my biggest takeaway from this conversation between Bari Weiss and Erika Kirk and related conversations on this issue is that it's a solution for political leaders, and we're never here to advocate for any kind of political solution. But as a journalist, you do see political leaders grappling with how to handle this. And what I constantly cover is the limits of language. You can talk about language all you want, but so often political violence comes down to an understanding of the dignity of people. And the American tradition, as I said, goes back to respect of the individual, the respect of individual rights, free speech, the value of the person, regardless of your religious affiliation, your orientation, your race, your creed. The dignity of people has been, for better and for worse, sometimes interpreted and used, but the dignity of people has been at the core of the American experience. And if you don't respect the dignity of the person across from you on a debate, it leads to not only language that becomes loaded, but also situations that can be tragic.
100%. I'm always reminded of my favorite president, Abraham Lincoln's words in his first inaugural address, Bob. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passions may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. In 1861, the President of the United States was talking about this very issue, uniting Americans. It didn't work. We went to war soon afterwards, but the message remains. And Bob Costa, thank you so much, as always, for your insight, my friend. Appreciate it.